Egg whites, gross. But not after you watch this episode because it's about to get delicious in here. All right, so today we are making egg whites, and I think some of you, including myself, might not be the biggest fans of these, but after this episode, I'm gonna show you some ways to spice them up, to cook them in a different way, to add some things to them where they're easier to get down. And it's funny that we're doing egg whites on this show because the genesis of this show started about a year ago, just over a year ago, when I lost a bunch of weight. I was gonna try to start to put on some muscle, and my mom's training partner gave me a diet plan. And the first 3 or 4 days of the week was egg whites and oatmeal for breakfast. So the first day I made scrambled egg whites and plain oatmeal. Plain scrambled egg whites, plain oatmeal. And it literally took me 40 minutes to finish breakfast because it was like eating 2 big bowls of cotton pretty much. No flavor, no texture, did not enjoy it at all. I was like, I'm not gonna be able to do this for the long term if I have to eat like this. So I went into the laboratory, I started to figure out ways how to make egg whites taste good. And from there, I found a bunch of ways to make a bunch of different foods taste good. So you're gonna be able to eat egg whites by the end of this episode. You're gonna have some tools in your tool belt to make egg whites taste way better. And why is it important, or why are egg whites an important part of a diet? Well, one, they are loaded with protein. They're pretty much liquid protein, a ton of protein per serving, 25 calories per serving, which is about 46 grams or 3 tablespoons is 1 serving. You're getting 5 to 6 grams of protein in that serving size. Compare that to 1 whole egg, which is about 70 to 75 calories. You're getting about 6 grams of protein. So for 1/3 of the calories, you're getting just as much protein in the egg white. You're missing out on some of the micronutrients, vitamins, and minerals in the egg yolk. So it is important to not get rid of egg yolks or whole eggs out of your diet completely. But you should consider shifting over to eating more egg whites, or at least mixing your breakfast source of eggs or your egg meals from partially whole eggs. So you could use like 1 whole egg and a couple servings of egg whites, or 2 whole eggs and a couple servings of egg whites. But try to get your protein, your additional protein, if you're doing like scrambled eggs, for example, or an omelet, mainly from the egg whites, and then have a couple egg yolks in there as well. You're gonna keep your calories lower, you're gonna keep your protein high, and things are going to be good for you. Now, I will also caution, and I'll be honest, because this show, we're in the trust tree.
Did I not clearly explain the circle of trust to you, Greg?
Yeah, I think I got it.
We're friends. I like you guys who are watching. You guys who are watching, you might like me, you might not, who knows? It's not a prerequisite for you to watch the show, but I would assume if you're spending your time watching it, you like me a little bit, but whatever. It's a different story for another day. So we're in the trust tree. I don't eat egg whites a lot anymore. I used to eat them frequently a month, 2, 3 months ago. I noticed that I personally have relative trouble digesting egg whites. They distend my stomach. They make my midsection look bigger than it actually is. I stopped eating them a while ago. I noticed that my midsection is tighter most of the time now. So I'm not a huge egg white eater, but I will tell you at home, and I'll guarantee you this, what we make today, I will be splitting with my cameraman. I will be eating these egg whites. So try them. If you're having some trouble digesting them, or you're noticing your midsection's a little bloated, or you're a little extra gassy, maybe throttle back on them, or potentially don't eat them at all. It's just something that you're gonna have to try. There's nothing inherently wrong with egg whites. It's just how people digest certain foods. Most things I digest absolutely perfectly fine with no issues. I do have a slight issue digesting egg whites smoothly. It's not that it gives me any issues, it just makes my midsection look bigger than it is, and I don't wanna do that. I want a nice lean midsection. Again, trust tree. All right, enough of me rambling. Let's get into it.
With that being said, let's get right into it.
Today, 3 different types of egg white meals for you to try at home. And I even hinted at one all the way back in the kimchi fried rice episode when I showed you my breakfast that day. That was back when I was eating egg whites every day for breakfast. But we'll get to that. We're gonna start first with a simple omelet.
We will begin with the perfect omelet, which is made with 2 eggs, not 3. Amateurs often add milk for density. This is a mistake.
So the first thing we're gonna do, and we're gonna kind of breeze over this because it's not super interesting, is we're gonna chop up an onion and a bell pepper. Again, your vegetables that you're gonna add to this omelet, totally up to you. For me, we're gonna do a little bit of bell pepper, we're gonna do a little bit of onion, and we're gonna do a little bit of baby spinach. So I'm gonna slice that up, and we'll be right back and get into this omelet.
It's time to chop.
All right, as you can probably tell, I was just cutting onions because I'm sure my eyes are red and my nose is running like a madman. But remember the word from a couple episodes ago? What's the chemical that makes you tear up? 3, 2, 1, at home, chance to guess. Lacrimator, lacrymators. They just beat me down in here. So I only ended up cutting half the onion because I'm not cutting that other half because it was rough like 30 seconds ago. But now that we've got a little diced onion, we've got a little diced bell pepper, any color's fine, any size is fine. Chop them up however you want. We're gonna get going to putting together the base of our egg white omelet, which will be the same with our egg white sandwich, and then with our final application of egg whites. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use about 4 servings of egg whites in this, which is 184 grams. And I only know that because, like I said, I used to eat these so much. I know that 4 servings is 184, and I was gonna say 5, but I already forget what 5 is. So I know this is 184. So all you do here is simply pour your egg whites, which I got at Market Basket, into your measuring vessel of choice on top of your scale, because we wanna be accurate here. 184 grams, it doesn't matter if we go a little over. 184 on the nose. Okay, then what we're gonna do, we're just gonna grab a fistful of bell pepper, throw that in there. We're gonna grab a little bit of onion, the pungent onions that are gonna add a ton of flavor because they just, like I said, they beat me down. Let me grab a napkin here because those onions, again, they are like super juicy. And then season your egg whites. If there's one takeaway from this show today, season your egg whites. Season them however you like, but season them. The flavor goes a long way. So, salt, pepper, obviously. We've got pink salt. This is my home container of pink salt because it didn't come in a grinder or anything. It just came in like a loose bag. We're gonna do just like a pinch, maybe like a pinch and a half, just a little bit of Himalayan pink salt. We've got pepper, as I mentioned. Buy a pepper grinder, uncrushed or whatever, crushed. I don't know what the other word is. Unground peppercorns have 10 times the amount of flavor of pre-ground because it's been sitting. It lets off all the stuff that has the flavor in there. So you want to get a pepper grinder. And I'm a big pepper guy. I'm going to do like 5. Usually at home I do like anywhere between 10 to 12, but I don't want this to be too peppery. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Not 10. All right. Next, these are my classics: garlic powder, onion powder. Love garlic flavor. Who doesn't love garlic flavor? It goes a long way. We use garlic a ton on this show. So do like a couple shakes, get like a good layer on there that you can see, and then onion powder, another one. We're layering our flavors. We've got onion there. We've got onion in there. We've got onion powder. We've got garlic powder. We've got our black pepper. We're kind of just marrying up all our flavors. I like to do like half of the amount of onion powder, or half the amount of onion powder I put in. Let me explain this clearly. The amount of onion powder that I put in is half of the amount of garlic powder I put in.
What?
Speaking is very difficult for me, even on the best days. All right, just a little bit of onion powder. I find onion powder to be a lot stronger in flavor than garlic powder. Next thing we're gonna do, move over here. We're gonna heat up our pan. I'm gonna go in between a 4 and a 3, which is like medium heat on this range. And we're just gonna let our nonstick pan heat up. Notice, I have a lid. I have lids on all the vessels today. I find cooking egg omelets or cooking egg whites, it's important to have steam, and you need a lid to trap that steam in. It helps them fluff up. I think it helps the texture. It helps keep them moist throughout the cooking process. And in the omelet's case, you don't have to flip it or anything. You'll only have to cook the bottom side because the top side will be cooked by some of the steam as well. So the last couple things we're gonna throw in this omelet as well, we're gonna move these long peppers. Tim already has nightmares about those things. Those things are spicy as heck, but we're not gonna use those just yet. We're just gonna throw in a little baby spinach because spinach goes great with an egg white omelet, in my opinion. Adds a lot of flavor, and again, adds some more moisture as it lets off some moisture or some water in the cooking process. So again, I think it's important to get some added moisture in there. steams it up, fluffs it up, makes a nice voluminous omelet for you to eat. And then we're gonna add 1 slice of fat-free cheese. Is this stuff like healthy for you? It's the plastic wrapped singles cheese, processed. Is it like healthy in the sense of like, you know, super, super healthy? No, but 30 calories, 4 grams of protein. That means over half of the calories from this are from protein, and dairy protein is one of the best proteins that you can eat because not all protein is created equal. Dairy protein, your body is going to absorb and use about, I believe it's like 96% of the protein and the amino acids from dairy. You think about protein powder, comes from the cheese making process, comes from dairy. So milk, cheese, protein powder, all really good protein sources along with you know, your chickens and your meat sources as well. And then as you go down the list, things like breads that have some protein are a little lower on the quality. You use about 50 to 60% of that protein when you take it in. So that's just something to consider. So we are gonna add a little cheese, and then as our pan's heating up even more, on top of this bad boy, we're gonna add some fat. And that's a little different for this show. Most of the recipes we've done, low or non-existent added fats. I personally am very picky about what fats I use as my added fat sources and how much I use throughout any given day or week. And why do I do that? Well, we've talked about it on this show. Not all macronutrients are the same caloric value. Carbs per 1 gram is 4 calories. Protein per 1 gram, 4 calories. Fats is 9 per 1 gram. So it's easier to eat a lot of calories in fats, which are calorie dense. So you have to be careful with how much fat you're taking in. You also should be careful with what you are using as your fat sources. You want to keep trans fat as low or non-existent as possible. Those are really bad fats. Saturated fats, don't make your living on saturated fats. Try to keep them as low as you possibly can. And I'm saying all this, by the way, with fats. Talk to your doctor first. Take your doctor's advice on how much fat you should be having, because you start to get into heart health things with fat and all that, and you should be listening to your doctor first and foremost. If there's something that I'm saying within this little rant on fats that you find interesting or useful, bring it to your doctor. More than likely, he's going to go, don't listen to an idiot on the internet, which is good advice. So if your doctor says that, stick with that person. If they don't, maybe think about switching your primary care physician and going somewhere else. But try not to make your living on saturated fats. Look for monounsaturated fat sources. Avocado, so guacamole, obviously highly made up of avocado. Avocado, guacamole, avocado oil, extra virgin olive oil. Look for high quality oil if you can in that sense. I use nuts. Tree nuts are great monounsaturated fat sources. Nut butters, almond butter, peanut butter. I prefer like peanut butter, but almond butter is all the rage. They're all pretty much the same in my opinion, but there are slight differences, of course. And then dark chocolate above 95% cacao. So don't go into the checkout aisle and say, ooh, there's a Hershey's dark chocolate bar. I'm gonna buy that. Jared said dark chocolate is a good fat source. Not over 95%. So you've got to go into the candy aisle or the baking aisle, above 85%. You got to go into the baking aisle or into the candy aisle, find the bars of 85% Lindt or whatever, grab that. I use about 10 grams when I'm using it in a bunch of different recipes. So again, my monounsaturated fat sources that I like to use: avocado, guacamole, avocado oil, nuts, nut butters, extra virgin olive oil, and dark chocolate above 85% cacao. Then also salmon is another good fat source because it's high in omega-3s. So those are just some things that you should try to eat. And another tip on distinguishing visually between saturated and unsaturated fats. Saturated fats like butter, for example, or animal fat are solid at room temperature. So a stick of butter is a solid stick at room temperature. Fat on a piece of steak is solid at room temperature. Things like extra virgin olive oil or avocado oil, for example, are liquid at room temperature. So that's a good way to kind of visually go, that might be an oil that I want to lean to, or if it's liquid, it's something that I kind of want to lean to. So that's my rant on fats. I'm very careful about what fats I take in when I use fats within my diet and whatnot. So this thing I can tell is getting hot. What we're going to do, our extra virgin olive oil spray. Not 0 calories. We already know that. I'm not going to go into it any more than I have to. That right there, good enough. Get the heat down here, because again, that browned up pretty quickly. And then, this is where things start to get really complex, and you want to take notes if you're watching at home. You take your egg whites in your vessel of choice. This could be a cup, this could be a bowl, this could be a measuring cup like this, it could be whatever you want it to be. And you aim for the middle of the pan, and you do that. Then, you put the lid on. How difficult was that? So then, what we're going to do, crack open our spinach, and we are going to just throw a bunch of spinach in there because it's going to wilt down. This looks like a lot right now, but it's going to end up being not that much at the end of the day. So then, what did I say? Throw the lid on, and we're going to let that go for just a couple of minutes. You want to keep an eye on it, but let it go for like a minute or two before you take the lid off, because we want to get some of that steam going within the pan. So when this thing's ready to go, we'll pop the top off, we'll throw a slice of cheese on there, we'll flip it in half, and we'll be good to go with our first egg white omelet.
Later.
All right, I just looked at our omelet. This thing's ready to get cheesed up, so we're going to come out of our break here for a moment. Again, we've got a lot of spinach in there, and I like to just break it in half like so. Put the cheese on there, just like that, pretty easy. Put the lid on, spin the handle, let this thing continue to cook. We'll be back with the final product in just a moment.
Much later.
All right, so we cut in a little while ago, a couple moments ago, really less than a minute or two. We threw in our slice of cheese. Let's see how we're doing here on this thing. It's looking pretty good. Let me move this lid out of the way because it's going to be hot. We talked about that last episode. I burnt my hand on that all the time. I do that at my house pretty much every night. I've got a little plastic floppy spatula just to kind of have extra maneuverability. And then the next thing we're going to do, as you could expect, this pan, awesome. Do you see how easy that's coming up off of this thing? Good pan. Thanks, Dad. Appreciate it. All right. Then we're going to try to flip it in half, close to half, like that. It's close enough. Look at the size of that thing. Look at it. That's a big omelet. You could go to your favorite diner. Well, they might give you portions about this size, but it's not going to taste as good, and it's not going to be made by me, so why would you want theirs? So at this point, this thing is pretty much done. I'm going to have Tim from off camera bring me a ye olde plate. And what we're going to do with said plate, we're going to move our buns, and we're going to take our omelet, bagoosh, put it right there, and that is our first egg white application. A simple omelet, some veggies in there, some peppers, some onion, some seasoning, some spinach, a little bit of cheese. That thing is going to be delicious. Let's take a quick break. We'll be back with the egg white sandwich in just a minute.
Soon after.
All right, our first egg white omelet is done. Now we're going to make an egg white sandwich. It's almost going to be exactly the same except for how we finish this bad Larry off. So what we're going to do is I've already pre-made my egg white mix. It's exactly the same, 184 grams of egg whites, some onions, some pepper, some salt, which I have to add, and then the other seasonings again. So let's just add a little bit of salt, like so, about a pinch. We're going to add some garlic powder, a little bit of that. We're going to add about half as much of onion powder. Little shake right there. We already have pepper in there. What we're going to do is we're going to hit our pan with a little bit of extra virgin olive oil. A little more because this is not a great pan. I think the surface is going to be a little rough to deal with. And then using a smaller pan because I want these to fit onto our rolls, which I'll talk about in a moment. Again, same thing as before. Pour it in, heat it up, put the lid on. That's all you're going to have to do in the cooking process on this one. So I'm going to move my lid back over here. We got stuff taking up space everywhere, as usual. We're going to kind of organize a little bit of our space here. And now we're going to go into our buns for this.
And unless you got buns. buns, hun.
These are onion rolls from Fartini brand. I usually don't use this brand. I like either Khalees onion bulkies or Kasanoff's onion rolls. Those are my two go-tos. But these are actually pretty great in my opinion in terms of their macronutrients. 175 calories per roll with about 32 grams of carbohydrates. For me, 2 of these is usually what I end up eating on a day-to-day basis. So I get 2 breakfast sandwiches.
Utah, give me 2.
It's about 350 calories from the bread, about another 100 calories from the egg whites, another 30 from the cheese. So it's going to end up being in the ballpark of like 500 total calories on our egg white sandwich. So this is why I really like using these and they taste great. You've got a little bit of extra onion flavor in there as well. So I'm going to bust out 2 of these, and think about, you're going to get 2 egg sandwiches. And if you think about how much money you're going to spend on a pack of buns, that's probably $3. That one of these containers of egg whites was $2.50. Cheese was $2.50. You're going to spend about $7. You're going to get about, for 2 sandwiches, it's going to end up costing you like $1.50. Try going to or any other place that serves breakfast and getting a egg white sandwich or an egg sandwich for $1.50. And then try getting 2 of them. It's not going to happen. I was distracting you there from how I was cutting the bread because it was a little dicey there. I could tell some of you were thinking, Jared, look out for your hand.
Happy look out!
It's important for you to not to cut your hand open. I'm a veteran bread slicer, as you know from this show, one, but also in a past life, I worked at a certain restaurant that served sandwiches, and I was a sandwich maker there. Some of you know where I worked. I'm not going to say it because I feel like I'm going to get in legal trouble if I do, but I worked there. And I made egg sandwiches, actually, was my first job there. So that's why my egg sandwiches are pretty good. No big deal. So we're just going to slice those open. And then what we're going to do is Tim from off camera, again, is going to throw me another plate. Because as usual on this show, we're flying by the seat of our pants. Technical difficulties, setting everything up. We're going to take a look at this. And again, we're going to let that sit. I'll show you what that looks like there. That's about halfway through. But again, let's get the lid on there. Let's let the steam do its job. We're going to fold that in half in a moment. This is where we get that cheese that we talked about earlier and that we also used on the whole omelet. 1 slice on there, and then another slice on the other. So actually 60 total calories from cheese. So I said 30, it's going to end up being 60. So just toss those on there like so. Usually I would toast that bread, then I would put the cheese on and I would let the heat from the warm bread melt that, but putting the omelet on top is also going to help that melt. If you want to toast it, go right ahead. We just don't have a toaster nearby. That's the only reason I'm not toasting this right now. Here is, I think, the biggest takeaway from this episode, amongst many other things. And I'm going to say this again in the trust tree. Don't go running out to Amazon and ordering up all this hot sauce. Don't go to Walmart and buying up all this mustard. I want to be able to get these 2 things whenever I need them. So I'm going to give you this and you're going to try it and you're going to go, this is one of the greatest things I've ever had in my life. I'm going to go buy it. Don't go buying up all the stock of it, all right? Or I'm going to regret telling you.
See, if I can't trust you, Greg, then I have no choice but to put you right back outside the circle. And once you're out, you're out. There's no coming back.
All right? Remember, trust tree, we're friends, let's support each other. All right. Our toppings for this sandwich. This Sam's Choice Chipotle mustard is the most amazing tasting mustard I've ever eaten in my life. It is so good. I'm not even exaggerating. It's unbelievable. Absolutely love this stuff. You got to look hard for it. Sometimes they don't have it. It is so good. It's like $1 something. 5 calories for 5 grams. You don't need a ton of mustard because mustard has, like, to me, diminishing returns. You get to a certain point and it's like, that's way too much mustard flavor. Like, I don't need that much. So I at most use like 15 grams of this stuff. It's amazing. And then the hot sauce. El Yucateco Caribbean habanero hot sauce. You only need a little bit. You only need a dab. Don't go crazy or you're gonna blow your taste buds right out of your mouth. Don't do that. Just a dab or 2. It has great flavor. You combine them together, sweet, spicy heat with a smoky chipotle mustard flavor. Unbelievable. Okay, let's come over to this thing. Our egg white sandwich is looking pretty good.
Pretty good.
Let's turn the heat down. And now This handle, this is something I deal with quite often. This handle is going to be absurdly hot because it doesn't have the rubber thing on it. So I'm gonna just kind of, yep, good. Let me turn this down a little bit. This is, oh, look at that. Look at the size of that sandwich right there. This is what's gonna go in our sandwich. We're gonna fold that in half. And then I like to do that right there. Just kind of cut that in half. Okay, and then I'm gonna take 1/2. Hold on, let me make sure it's cut all the way through. Clean release, not a clean release yet. Back to work. Turn this down again. Oh boy. Oh yeah, all right, good. Oh no! Ha! That's so hot, ah! All right, we made it. This is how it looks like when I cook at home, to be honest with you. Bagoosh, bagoosh, that's good. My hand's on fire. I'm gonna need medical attention sooner rather than later, more for my mental issues than my physical issues, but that's a story for another day. All right, here we go. I'm not gonna really measure this. 15 grams of this stuff, like I said, it would be like 5 calories, or 15 calories, but that's like a huge thing. You can just drizzle a little bit on there. So, right on top of the egg white, let me turn it like this. Just like a little bit of that. Boom, that's maybe 10 grams, whatever, 10 calories. It's not a big addition. That's a little more than the other one, but it's still fine. And then, don't drop your hot sauce like I just did. This stuff, again, careful, careful. You'll poke your eye out with it. All right. Just a dab, just a touch. Unless you really like heat, then you can do more. Just like that right there. That's it. That's it. Just a little bit of heat. And I'm going to leave the other one actually without any on it just in case Tim doesn't want to have the habanero hot sauce. I'll let him add it to his if he wants to. Now, again, another very crucial, difficult step. Take your sandwich top, close it, press it down. Big time technique. Then I just messed it up on this one. And there you go. Egg white sandwich. It's going to be got a little heat to it. It's got your egg whites in there. Again, it's got a bunch of flavor. One more quick break. We'll be back with our final and a little bit of our specialty and of course our Korean inspired take on egg whites. It wouldn't be an episode of Delicious and Nutritious if we didn't have a little bit of Korean flair in there.
You're watching When Keeping It Real Goes Wrong.
Mid-March they're talking, oh, oh, oh no, oh God, oh. All right, so we had a little issue with our final egg white recipe here today. I mentioned it, that we were gonna try to make one in a dukpaegi or a earthenware pot. We had some issues. I'll show you what happened. I don't wanna serve that to Tim because it looks terrible and I'm not proud of how that looks. Again, I usually test all the recipes at home. I don't test them on this hot plate. I wasn't sure if this was gonna totally work. Found out today that it does not work, but I will try to figure out a way to get this to work in the future and we'll put it in another episode. But we had the egg white sandwich and we had the omelet here today on Delicious and Nutritious. We hope that those two recipes just help you dip your toe into what is the wide world of egg whites. And I just want to remind you that both of those recipes, the whole omelet and then the two sandwiches, both clocked in, or actually the two sandwiches probably clocked in around 500 calories, just over 500, with right around 40 grams of protein and right around 60 to 70 grams of carbohydrates, very low in fat. And then the omelet probably checked in somewhere in the 200-ish calorie range. Adding the guacamole on top would be another 50 or so calories. So super low calorie, filling, they taste great, and they are absolutely perfect for your macronutrient goals. So again, I want to thank you for tuning in to Delicious and Nutritious, and I hope you try out these recipes and send them to us here at North TV.